Hello and welcome to the Rose Rehash. This is Jared Freid here every Monday night after the Bachelorette, and I think a great episode today. And we're gonna recap the show. I'm gonna give out awards, and I'm gonna take your audience questions. So if you want your question answered, make sure you tag me at Jared Freid and have your question in the comments section. And if you're here, comment, like, subscribe. These are all very important things to keep the rehash going. So make sure you comment, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Let a friend know. We had a great episode. And also, I'm doing live shows. This weekend, I'll be in Atlantic City. Then I'm coming to all across this great nation. Go get tickets, jaredfreid.com for all my dates. I'm also just added Orlando. So if you're in the Orlando area, come on out, jaredfreid.com, jaredfreid.com. So let's get to the episode. A weird one. Good, but weird, and we cut the fat. We are down to like the real people that she seems to have a connection with a couple added people in there too, but we'll get to that. So the episode starts with Katie talking with Caitlin and Tayshia about how she wants to have a whoa challenge. I don't understand. I guess you're not allowed to say masturbation on television, so they have to blank it out, and it's a little confusing. They have to speak in innuendo, but we're here on YouTube. I can say it to you straight. She wants to challenge the men to not masturbate for a week, and it's like, I don't really get it. First of all, the women, Tayshia and Caitlin's understanding of masturbation is like, I don't know what they think men are doing. They go, are they doing that in the house? Really? And it's like, Caitlin, Tayshia, the shower curtains are drenched in semen. What do you think is going on in that house? They don't have a phone. They don't have TV. All they have is each other, weights, and a private place maybe that they can go and bang one out. So I don't understand what they were thinking. Like, also, this whole whoa challenge is kind of evil. You're the sex-positive bachelorette. You come on with a vibrator, and you're like, yeah, I love getting off. And then you're like, men, I'd like to make sure none of you will spill your seed for the week. And it's like, what are you, a dominatrix? What are you, in control of these? I don't understand it. You take away the one enjoyment they literally have. These guys are stowed away in the middle of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then you're like, let's play a little game. How about you don't touch yourself for a week? If that were me, and they tell the guys, and the guys are like in total shock. And Caitlin goes to the guys, and she's like, okay, we're going to do the whoa challenge. And they're like, what? Wait, are you kidding? Are you taking away the one joy I have? Like, in that week, if I couldn't masturbate, all I would do was eat. I would gain 1,000 pounds. So, and Caitlin says to the men, and you can see like Blake is like, what's going on here? Like, he didn't even listen. They're all just like, what is this challenge? And the weirder part about it is they didn't keep up with it for the rest of the episode. It kind of got mentioned, but it wasn't like, hey, everybody check in, like to let us know if you've masturbated yet. It was just kind of bizarre and a little bit evil. And it's like something that could never happen on The Bachelor. Like, I kept imagining if I was The Bachelor, like the fallout of the people at home being like, ladies, and there'll be no flicking your bean this week. And they'd be like, what? Yeah, I'm in control. If you're going to want to marry me, why don't you show your commitment? Nobody touches themselves. Nobody. I'm taking out all the removable shower heads. Like, how would that go over with the house? How would that go over with Twitter? Not well. Caitlin then explains them the rules, and she goes, and if any of you, this is how little Caitlin understands men and masturbation. And I'm not claiming to know about women and masturbation, but this is a very prime example. Caitlin says, if you do lose the challenge, that's quite a compliment to Katie. What? So are you insinuating that any masturbation that goes on this house is while they're thinking of a Katie shrine or to their Katie doll in their room? That's not what men masturbate to. Nobody masturbates to their hypothetical girlfriend. You know, you're masturbating to your imagination. And you think their greatest imagination is? I just don't. Maybe to assume that is just crazy to me. So we'll move on. So that starts out the show, and it's a very weird start. Justin gets the one-on-one date. Justin's one-on-one date is a fake wedding. This one-on-one has evolved. It used to be that they would do a group date, and it would be like pictures of you in the wedding dress or them in their tux of you on your wedding day. And it was a picture photo shoot, and it was supposed to be fun, and you'd have props, and this guy Franco would show up, and he'd be a little bit eccentric and fun. But that was really the date. Now the date is a full-on, we're going to have a fake wedding, which I don't even understand how you get to know each other on that date. They had to write vows. Also, Franco has gone from eccentric photographer to literally the host of the show. He has to run this whole thing. I don't know if Franco is even adequately prepared for this moment. He didn't seem it. They have to write vows. He looks at Justin, and Justin's like, what should I do with these vows? He goes, you have to write the most marvelous thing or she'll send you home. And it's like, relax, Franco. Why don't you let the guy live for a second? He just got the sprung on him. So they have this weird date. And also during the vows, what are they going to say? What would you say? You can't be like, yeah, you're kind of cool and I hope this works out. You have to go above and beyond, and it's not even worth it at that point. Like, you don't even know each other well enough to give a vow. So they have this weird wedding date. They go back and have the dinner afterwards, and they do seem to connect. Justin seems to be a front runner now, and he ends up getting the rose. Katie reveals that her father who passed away was not her biological father, and now her biological father is trying to have a relationship with her. That's a very complicated thing. She said that this whole wedding date was hard for her because she's thinking of a guy asking for permission from her biological father, and it reminds her of her real father, like the one who brought her up. So it's all very complicated and sad, and Justin's there for her. It seems to go well. They seem to connect. He gets the rose. They make out, and then they get some 14-year-old kid as the band this week. I don't know. It just says Max the band. Like, I don't even understand what that means. Like, hi, I'm Max. I'm singer-songwriter Max. It was just a bizarre, concert. So now we go to the group date. The group date is a drag date, but they missed an opportunity. So they have Monet X Change and Shea Coulee, who are drag queens and stars, I'm sure, and they're like big, huge names in the drag community. And then the date is that they're going to they want the men to throw shade at each other. So it turns into a roast. Why not have the men do catwalks? Why not have them in heels? Why not have them, work the runway? Like, that would be a fun idea for a date. This roasting thing where they're supposed to write jokes about each other, it's like it almost feels too late in the game to have a roast. Like, they already know each other too well. They all seem to be friends. So the roast ends up happening, and they're saying that Hunter is going to get roasted by the rest of the guys. But that's not what happens. What ends up happening is they all just read speeches, and then at some point, I think it's Monet X Change is like, hey, forget this. Who do you hate the most? And I love that from them, because I was like, okay, good. Let's get to some goods. You could tell it wasn't going well. Then Hunter ends the roast date by saying, I don't want to roast any of you. And he just reads a love letter to Katie. That was when I knew Hunter was gone, because, at some point you have to show a personality. At some point you have to get involved in the game that's being played. You have to play with the thing. If you won't go along with this, what will you go? What are you light with? Is it always, I've been in love with you since the day I saw you. I will not insult everyone else's character. It's like, it was a little much, Hunter. So now we move on to Connor is going to get a one-on-one date. Connor, the cat. Katie basically says, I like Connor. He has everything I want, but I just don't feel it is beyond a friend zone. So I need to seek this out. So to see whether Connor and her have a physical connection, she brings Connor on a double date. That seems backwards. It's a double date with Jason and Caitlin Bristow, and they're engaged. And I think if you're sexually attracted to someone, you bring them on a double date to see if they work in the friend group. If you're friend zone with someone, you bring them to a sexy date to see if it can go that way. Connor didn't even get a chance. They're holding hands. They're like waving them back and forth. I was like, this isn't the right date for what you're trying to find out. So then they play games. They're grilling. They're having a nice date. Connor got the treatment Katie got on Matt James's season. On Matt James's season, Katie got the date with Tyler C. Oh, we're going to have fun. We're going to prank each other. but none of it got them to see each other in a different light than they had already seen each other before. Connor got that same treatment. And then Katie, after the date, is crying. She's like, I don't know what to do. I have to let a guy go who checks a lot of boxes. And she ends up going to Connor's room and saying, you got to go. It's over for you. Connor then comes back to the house to say goodbye to all the men on the show. I've never seen such a thing. This has never happened. Connor comes back to all the men, and everyone, it is as if their family member is leaving for war. Like, people are like crying. All the men, Andrew, who hasn't said a positive thing on this show the whole season, legitimately looks at Connor and is like, I've learned about myself through you. You make me want to be a better man. And you're like, where did this come from? I knew that he was like a glue guy in the house. I knew that they all liked him, but I didn't think it was like this. And then they go back to Katie. Katie's all bent out of shape. She's crying about it. And all of a sudden, downstairs, Blake is waiting with a radio. And he's playing the song. I think that was played during their one-on-one date that the musician from American Idol played. So now he comes up. And wouldn't you think, like, the men in the house are going, hey, where's Blake? Like, Blake comes upstairs, they end up making out, and he's like, I heard from Connor that you were bent out of shape, you were crying, and you were in sweats, so I came over here. It's like, okay, if you heard that, that means everyone heard that. At what point do you get to sneak away? Like, if I was in that house, I'd be like, Blake, where are you going, man? Are you going to console Katie? I'll come too. Like, I would, like, go with him. I don't understand how he got away for so long. Like, aren't they at the house being like, where's Blake? What's going on? So he goes and consoles her. She loves it. They're definitely connected. He's definitely in the lead in this competition. And then we go to the rose ceremony. The cocktail hour before the rose ceremony, Katie comes out and says, there's going to be no cocktail hour. I don't need any more time with anybody. So we're going to go straight to the rose ceremony. Then we get to the rose ceremony, and she looks and she says, Hunter. So you think Hunter's going to get a rose, and she goes, come outside with me. Her and Hunter have this discussion. I thought you didn't need the time, Katie. I thought you didn't need it. I guess the idea would be that she could get time alone with Hunter where no one could steal her away. But you go, and then what's this conversation going to be about? And basically Hunter says nothing, and Katie says nothing. So what was this all about? It's moments like this where you're like, Katie wants to have moments. You can tell she's doing a little bit of producing on the fly, which is not my favorite thing. But you also have to wonder, there's no host here. So Caitlin and Tasia are off, taping TikToks in the other room. So we get back to the rose ceremony, and Katie sends home, in addition to Connor, she sends home the bouncers, Trey, James, and Andrew. I've been calling them the bouncers. They just look like three bouncers. They never really made an attempt to talk to her. And then she also sends home Hunter. And the surprise of all surprises is Brendan, the poof guy, staying, and Mike P, the virgin. So now we have some guys that you think, like, if I'm looking at this objectively, it's Blake, it's Andrew S, it's Blake, Andrew S, it's sensitive Greg, and then you got Justin, who's kind of, I would put him in fourth, and then you have the Brendan the poof and Mike P, the virgin. Like, it's like out of left field. And that was our episode. Let's give out some awards. The Batches is where I give roses to my favorite characters and divorce papers to my least favorite characters. Let's start with the roses. My first rose is going to go to Monet Exchange and Shea Coulee. Great job. Love them. I love that they saw that this roast wasn't working, and they were like, nah, switch it up. Who does everyone hate? Like, they came for a shade competition, and they weren't leaving without shade being given. I love that. My next rose goes to Justin. Justin was all facial expressions, and we really didn't get to know him. This is the day that he really came out. He shined a little bit. He was great on the date. Loved everything about Justin. Big Justin fan. I do think he's in fourth place with Andrew S., sensitive Greg, and Blake in the lead. But I liked Justin. Loved his whole vibe. The last rose is going to go to Connor. Connor, you captured everyone's heart. You captured the men in the house. They're hugging and kissing you and crying. Katie is crying after you left. She can't believe it. Caitlin and Jason want to do double dates with you. Jason even spoke 7 words. Caitlin allowed him. Connor, I don't know what you do to people, but I've got to meet you. I got to figure out, what the secret sauce is. Let's go to the divorce papers. The first one goes to Katie. Katie, the masturbation competition. If you're going to do it, let's do the competition. Let's have check-ins. Let's have people, fill out a slip and let us know, and have to put down, money on the table when they've masturbated. Ring a bell whenever they've broken. But you came in hot, and it's like, why are you going to do this to them if you're going to half do it to them? To make them feel bad? To shame them? If you're the sex positive person, shouldn't it be how many times can you masturbate in a day? Shouldn't that be the competition? 10 times? Really, Blake? Like, that's more in tune with who you've been on this show than to restrict people. The next divorce paper is going to go to the subject of masturbation in general. I can't believe no one even gets that masturbation is like, it did get made out to be this sinful thing on this episode. You're blocking out, they can't even say the word. It's all an innuendo. The women are like, are they really doing that? It's like, yeah, we're doing it. And it's like, this is self-care. They made it into this sex thing, and it's like, no, this is a vacation from this house, from you, from the world. And you took away the one thing that they had. And it just shows a lack of understanding of how masturbation is used as a self-care process. The last divorce paper is going to go to the producers. Both dates tonight were awful. The group date, all 3 dates. The wedding date doesn't work. Nobody is really being truthful with their vows for someone they don't even know yet. And we're leading towards a wedding. So if you want to do the fun wedding date, the photo thing was great, but then to do the vows, it's just too much. The drag race, the roasting was dumb. They should have done runway modeling in drag. That would have been fun. That would have shown their personalities in a whole fun way where they didn't have to take each other down. And then you put Connor on a date to get out of the friend zone that keeps him in the friend zone. 3 horrible dates, didn't get us anywhere. That's our show. Let's hear some questions. How do you feel about Tayshia and Caitlin hosting for Michelle's season? I heard not happy. I need The Bachelor to start taking chances, but that's not what The Bachelor does. The Bachelor is in prevent mode. Bachelor makes money, so they're going to do nothing to change the show and they're playing prevent defense. They got a cash cow and they want nothing to get lost. And when you play prevent defense, it prevents you from winning. And right now, they're not changing enough. You got to make a move. You got to let these 2 people host the show. They basically keep them off for the whole, episode. They're a non-factor. I want someone. They should have a host that's more involved that actually hosts the show, and so we don't have to have Franco running a date. Let's go to the next one. If you were in the shade competition, how would you roast Michael A., sensitive Greg, Blake, etc.? Well, I would have to write some jokes out. That would take more time than I'm getting credit for. But, Greg, I would make fun of his squirmy voice, of his sensitive voice where he's always like, I just don't know. So I'd make fun of that for Greg. Blake, I would make fun of the fact that he DMs every single Bachelor contestant of all time until he finds the right one. Michael A., I don't know. He's a saint on earth, so I don't think there's anything to make fun of there. Let's do another question. Was the Hunter drama provoked by Katie's previous rewarding of snitching and calling out drama? So I think you're right. I forgot to mention that. Thank you for that question. That's a big part of what has happened on this season. Here's what happened. Guys got rewarded for being bold. And then at some point, Katie had to stop doing that. She has to start rewarding because you run out of roses. You run out of weeks. So it provoked, I would say, Katie rewarding, you know, Katie rewarding calling people out really brought on the end of Trey, Aaron, and James. They couldn't get over it. They had to move on from it, and they could never move on from it. They kept going back to the well. This week it ended because there's just not enough weeks left for us to keep rewarding that stuff. She can't. At a certain point, she has to give roses to people she likes. Any more questions? Do you think Blake has a legitimate shot at winning this thing? Yes. I think Blake's in the lead. I think he obviously they think that Blake to show up to her apartment without any, like, on his own, he must have been tipped off that she likes seeing him. That I think that is most likely to have happened. Like, she says, Blake is really my number one guy, and they go, hey, Blake, she'd like to see you tonight, because that's the only answer to this question. I think that's it. That's our episode. Back next week.